Hello, friends.
Hey!
Welcome to the Right Spotlight, episode which one? What
Now
number?
you're messing with 18. We're on 18. 18.
I got confused because we
Hey.
pre-recorded one, so I'm like, wait, are we at? I didn't know it.
Yeah,
But
we're going back. We're going backwards now.
Yes, today
in the virtual world. But
yes. Thank you so much for being here. We're so happy that you're with us on our journey of helping people become authors and getting them great information in a very entertaining way, you have to admit. If you're watching, please comment and let us know where you're watching from. If you are watching this on the replay, please do the same. And if you love it, share it. And one step more, please subscribe.
Yeah, go over to the Right Spotlight on YouTube. So we'd love to have you there so you get those notifications that we're live.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Okay, today, we thought we laughed.
Hold on a second. Let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Kellen Ann.
And I'm Brian Monahan. We're co-hosts.
Remember, Gio said to use our arms to make ourselves big. So, okay, well, we may as well plug ourselves as well. So Brian is the man who will help you get your book to the finish line. If you're thinking about writing a book or you have a book that you started and you want to finish, you talk to Brian, and one of your clients, you got there in 90 days. Am I correct?
Yeah, 90 days. I've got a couple clients in about 90 days.
Yeah.
And we're refining the system. We're going to get it down to like 52 soon.
Awesome.
You know it.
Awesome.
So, and obviously, Kellen Ann, Cards at Wow. She helps you once we're finished with that book. 90 days, 120, whatever it takes. It doesn't matter how long, but she's going to help you get those interviews and get you on those shows with her wonderful promotional items. So
and ideas.
And she is an author as well.
And wait, so is Brian. Sorry.
Woo-hoo.
So we are legit. Okay, today we thought we laughed a lot when Gio was on the show.
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling my tummy is going to be exhausted from laughter because we've already been laughing this morning in just a few minutes that we've been with Neil. So Neil Mullarkey is another person that I met during when I was in London. He was at the Michael Heppel event, and he was one of the amazing speakers. He his credits are so long that we would need a show just to list them all, but we're going to do the super cool ones. So his credits include films like Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, Austin Powers Gold Member, Whose Line Is It? And I can't even say this, Pentravate. He can clue me in on that one. But anyway, he is an amazingly funny person, and he's got a book out. This is his fourth in the moment, and he's going to talk to us about his journey in just a second.
Awesome. You ready to bring him on? I know he's ready to get on.
He's getting all antsy in the studio there.
I know. I see him.
Let him out of his cage.
There you go.
Be big. Be big.
Be big.
Be big.
Episode 18.
18. Woohoo!
I told you.
I mean, we're re-rolling the intro. That's our new intro.
That's our new intro. You're going to be our new intro.
Intro.
Neil, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. I met you at Michael Heppel's event, and you actually got me to start. Well, you were integral in me starting my improv career. So
good. Improv theater is what I do. I've been doing it for 38 years. I was taught by Mike Myers, as you said, when he lived in London. I met him. He was selling tickets for a show I was in. He said, I've done this thing at Second City. Second City, I said, most people British never heard of Second City. And I said, yes, like Saturday Night Live and the Blues Brothers. Yeah, and he was amazed I'd heard of it. And then I didn't know they did improv. I thought it was just sketches. He said, no, it's all about improv. We do written sketches as well. We do improv. And it all started with a social worker in the 1920s in Chicago. And it was her son who set up Second City in Chicago. And I've been doing it ever since. And I also teach it now. For a quarter of a century, I've been teaching skills of improv, this theater skill. How do I apply those in the real world? And it's been a wonderful journey.
It is an amazing concept. And I left out the fact that you and Mike Meyer created the Comedy Store, correct?
Not quite. The Comedy Store existed. It's a building. The Comedy Store players
Players. Okay.
Ah,
is the improv troupe at the Comedy Store. So there's also the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, but the Comedy Store started in 1979 in the United Kingdom doing stand-up, and then we started in 1985 doing improv on a Sunday. Nobody in the UK really knew much about improv then. This was before Whose Line Is It Anyway? So
Right.
you people, we're going to do a show where we don't have a script. You tell us stuff and we make it up based on your suggestions. What?
Right?
So the first 3 months or so, there'd be some stand-ups who'd do the first half. Mike and I would do our act sometimes, our written act.
Mhm.
And then we get them in, come and watch the scripted thing. They know what they're doing. Then in the second half, there's this thing where we don't know what we're doing. We're just making it up using your suggestions. So we had to work quite hard to get the concept over to people. And as I now say with some confidence, we're not just improvising. We have learned a skill, which is called improv. Right. Just in the way you learn a sport or a music or martial arts, there's a discipline, there are rules, there are those who traveled further in the journey. You remember your first teacher, you remember your first role model. In my case, it was the same person, Mike Myers. He taught us these things, and the Comedy Store Players started. We used to do Sundays. We still do every Sunday.
That's awesome. I got to see you. I was so excited that I got to be.
You were excited.
I was.
And we have a picture of you on the stage with me, I think.
Oh my God, that's true.
Oh,
you
wow.
too.
And you did not bring that? What's up?
No.
Come on, Kellen.
You know how shy I am.
That's true. Yes. Well, I've just reminded myself of this. This is either of you in the Guinness World of Records or records?
No.
Well, I am.
Records.
The Comedy Store Players. We've been going. So basically, Mike left after a couple of years, but we've been pretty much the same group ever since. So 2010, we were recognized by the Guinness World of Records, and we're pretty much the same group with some losses over time. But that's the thing we've been doing. And my book is called In the Moment, which is I've learned so much by teaching these skills to people to use in real life, in business, maybe even in their personal lives. And I've learned so much. And the book is called In the Moment, where I say, look at these, the improv skills, look at that. There we go. It's Kogan page. If everyone stays till the end, I'll give them the discount code. You can get it from the Kogan page website. Anyway, 20% off. So improv.
I didn't even get 20% off.
Well, really? That was a mistake. Did I not give you the discount code? So improv is about being in the moment, really listening, being creative, co-creative with the other person. You're generally on stage with somebody else, collaborating. You don't know what she's thinking. She doesn't know what you're thinking. But from that creative diversity comes something wonderful and beautiful. And then actually in my book, I say there are times when you need to be prepared. You need to be a bit scripted. For example, I help people with presentation skills. You've got to rehearse. You've got to have a structure. You probably have a script. A book is very well prepared. Even at the Comedy Store, when we do our show, we know we're going to start at 7:30. We know we'll finish at 9:30. We know the games we're going to play. We know the team. So we have a structure from which then we can improvise.
Right.
So I kind of say, when do you need to be in this moment of using this discipline of being truly there, listening to what's going on? And there are times when you can, now this is what I've planned. I'm going to stick to my plan.
Right.
And of course, the reality is, and I do a lot of leadership workshops, most of the time we're between the two. And I say to leaders, don't make a presentation where you're kind of saying, I don't know what to say. Like, stuff is good. Yeah, good luck. Stuff, good. Cool. That's not very impressive. On the other hand, if you're coaching somebody or really listening to somebody, one of your team, or maybe negotiating, talking to a client, you don't want to be saying, this is my script. Let me tell you exactly what you need to do. I'm going to tell you all my things and not listen to a word you're saying. Those are wrong. You got to, one of the moments when you got to use this dynamic of being in the moment, being flexible, being agile, learning afresh. And there are times when you got to know this is what our plan is. We need to get to an objective. And I borrowed the phrases convergent thinking. You're converging towards an idea. So there's one outcome. And then there's divergent. So this is the divergent area. Convergent. I try and describe it. Convergent thinking as you might be solving a problem. How do we get from A to B? Okay. Should we get the bus, the car, taxi? whatever. Divergent says, hang on a minute, do we need to go to B? Should we go to C? Actually, are we really at A? And from that, you can get lots of new thinking, but you may not get to the answer quickly. And it depends on the budget, the time. If you've got 10 minutes to get the bus, get on the bus. If you've got to think, actually, we could spend 100 lots of 10 minutes getting the bus. And if we use that time more wisely to think about the medium, the long term, perhaps we'd be better off. That's kind of the debate I have in my book, because there was a business school professor who was at London Business School. He was at Harvard, now he's at Stanford. And it was kind of, he said, Neil, I think improv is the answer. I'm still not sure what the question is. And I'm still grappling with that in a way, because when I started this 25 years ago, I thought improv was, let's have better conversations. The root of improv is listening. It's kind of the opposite of what you expect. Is I'm listening, I'm treating what she says as an offer, what she's treating what I say as an offer. And then I discovered there were leadership models. You can use it in sales, in negotiation, team building, all of these possibilities that I hadn't realized, that I was taught by business school professors, but mostly by the people doing jobs saying, I could apply it this way or that way. There you go. Now I can relax now.
Okay, we're done.
Well, you're totally, walking right into my question here, which is in one of your chapter. I mean, you know what you're doing here. That's what I heard, at least. But improv is not winging it. Did I read that correct? What's the difference there?
Well, just so you know, this was my most read LinkedIn post, where I said improv is not winging it. And winging it, people don't know, because it sounds like it's fun. You're kind of flying, doesn't it? It sounds like you're agile, flexible, having a great time. You've got a view of the ground. And actually, the derivation is the opposite of that, because it's based on the wings of the theater. So if I'm in the wings, so I'm on stage now, I'm off stage now. Oh, I'm in the wings. You can't see me. And in the old days, they would be in the wings, the side of the stage, going, I don't know my lines. Or they'd be going, what is my line? Tell me quickly. And they'd be in a state of panic, right? Because they had to know their lines. There was a script, so one version of the truth, convergent, and they couldn't think. Can't think of anything. And so they'd failed to learn when they should have learned. So they should have been in the zone of preparation structure, and they failed. Or there was something else going on. They were not in a good frame of mind or body. And so that was panic, can't think of anything to say. Improv is, we don't have a script. Almost there are no wings. You can see everything in front of you. We make it up before you. The transparency is there. We're not perfect. In fact, we don't aim to be perfect. Perfection is what you might get when you spend hours writing a script, preparing, and that is a beautiful thing. Improv is a different type of experience where the audience is going, what can they do? I don't know. What would I say? I'm on the edge of my seat. And if we say anything, the audience goes, phew, thank goodness. So the bar is different. I was going to say lower. It's a different dimensional bar. Winging it is not really having prepared when you should have prepared. Improv is saying, this is a moment where I have to be fully there. I can't be thinking about my menu, my script that I've already got, my agenda. I've got to be there. And improv, we often say, how is your character you're playing altered by the scene? What does she learn? What does he become to understand when they're in the scene? And that's kind of a different thing from where you're in the scripted moment. And both are valid. The biggest mistake we make is trying to apply a script with a moment of, something emerging, or not preparing something that should have been prepared. And we all have experienced both of those, have we not? Where somebody's just looking, and a lot of conversations, organizations tend to be somebody just, this is what I think, this is what I think, this is what I think. Oh, really? Well, this is what I think, this is what I think, this is what I think. And oh, good, now I know what I think. And you're not listening. And there may be times when that's you need to be able to say what it is, explain, and have a script, if you like, in the broadest sense. And there are times when you're co-creating an emerging script, which is, what do we do with the future? How do you want to be working? Hybrid? How much do you want me to talk to you? How much do you want my help? How much do you want me to step back and step in as a leader? When can I help out? Or is that actually micromanaging? All these things which are open for negotiation. Every one of us feels differently, even at different moments. Leave me alone. Let me do it myself. Oh, no. Can you come and help? Those are the kind of moments I seek out for people to say, oh, yeah, that's how it is for me.
Would you say that improv requires you to actually be more prepared or more ready than?
Ooh, very good question. Now, people say to me, so even people who've seen the show, I might see them for Sunday lunch before the show, and they say, what do you got? What are you lining up for tonight? What? Well,
you don't get this.
Are you preparing for tonight? I said, yes, I've been preparing for tonight's show for the last 38 years. So your point there is you're prepared in the same way that anybody with a certain level of practical experience of something is prepared. They've done it before with their hands, their brain, their mouth, their body, sport, art, technical things, but they don't know what's going to happen in this particular moment. So the preparation is almost mental, physical. I don't really like going out for Sunday lunch. I don't like to be with people in the few hours before a show. I'm a bit unpleasant, really. Afterwards, I'm convivial. But the preparation is conserve your strength, conserve your voice. If I'm doing a scripted show, I want to be prepared. I want to know my lines so well. I want to know what my costume is. I know when I'm coming in, that prop is ready. So the preparation is different. One is, they're both mental in terms of performance, but one is I know my lines clearly. The other is I'm fully prepared to not know.
Yeah,
and open to not know.
Open. And if you've ever seen an improv show, those who are watching this, some might think, how can that work? Because I'd never seen an improv show before I was in one. And you realize the audience actually likes it when you make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
They like you to be vulnerable. They don't want you to cry and get angry and flail. But actually, people say, what happens if you can't think of something? And you go, that's actually the most beautiful moment. When you go, and something comes out.
Or physicality kicks in.
Physicality kicks in, you go, or your comrade kicks in. Yes. And they'll give the audience a reason why you couldn't say it. You're too shy to tell us about your past, or you can't say it because I know you love me, or something. They make you right.
Oh boy,
they make you right. That's what's so good. This is one that Mike, who's a very brilliant improviser, he's very funny, but he really appreciates the discipline. He learned at Second City in Toronto, and so he would share things like follow the follower. Isn't that great? How do I make my fellow performer look good? How do I make them look good? That's quite different from how people might imagine it is, which is elbowing you aside. Let me do the funny. Actually, funny is a joyous byproduct of this moment of just relishing the not knowing, that space of co-created vulnerability, if I can be a little bit reflective.
Yeah, I'm actually having epiphanies while we're on the call here today. Like
that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Do tell.
You're gonna roll with it. No, but I mean the title of your book, In the Moment, I hadn't considered. In my mind, I'm thinking about like meditating and just the broader sense of being in the moment. But the beauty of doing improv is actually the best way you could be in a relationship with somebody, is just like being in the moment, letting them give you that gift. I'm just like, loving it.
Well, I have my cake and eat it with that title, because I kind of talk about the idea in the moment. Some people think it's about mindfulness, meditation. Well, yes, they are also to do with, let us not think too much about the past or future. Let's really understand where I am now, my body, etc. Improv is about, let's be in the moment with this particular scene, this moment with this character. I also say, actually, some people don't like the idea of in the moment. It sounds like being caught out. it sounds like not caring about the future or the past. It sounds like I'm living for the moment. I'll do whatever I feel like.
Right.
And both of which sound not everyone's cup of tea. And so not for the moment, but in the moment. And also philosophically, I say a moment could actually be 6 months in the broader sense, 6 months, a year, where you realize this isn't who I am, or, ooh, here's an opportunity for me, or I'm developing this relationship, this idea of who I could be. I also go back to mathematics and physics because I did those at high school, and they talk about the moment of inertia, and you've got the fulcrum and the weight. And actually, there's a curious thing. The moment is a product of the mass times the distance from the fulcrum. So actually, the further away you are, the more the moment is, which is a bit bizarre. But also the moment of inertia, which is when something's spinning around and then you stop it, it keeps moving around. It keeps moving because we kind of the moment. It's kind of to do with forces and stuff and momentum. And just noticing that sometimes momentum is force, but sometimes like a vector is a measure of things like not only speed, but also distance. And I say sometimes you could be going really fast in the wrong direction.
Right.
And sometimes a vector says, this is the right direction, but go slowly right now. Let's see what happens. And very often in our improv scenes, it's quite slow at the beginning. We're not going for gags. Stand-up comedians, some of whom can do this ensemble improv and talk about, but some of them are kind of going, where's the gag? I can't see a gag. I don't want to throw myself into your hands. I don't want to be co-creative with you. I need to get to the joke. And actually, very often in the scene, the momentum is establishing who, what, and where. Kellen, you might have done this in like, who are we?
Where are we?
Really going on here? Where are we? So you kind of, I'm chopping some vegetables. Yeah.
And how are we related?
You relate it to each other, to the person. And of course, I can be chopping the vegetables in a lascivious way. Oh, yes. Or I could be going, yes, of course, you can go out tonight. I don't care. And the more you create the reality, the who, what, and where, we call it, the more the scene will live, not because you've made jokes. And sometimes the joke will undermine the reality of the scene. And actually what we're trying to get to, so one of my chapters is called storytelling.
I was just going to say, you're bringing up the storytelling.
It's story. Story, I believe, existed even before Excel spreadsheets, even before PowerPoint. It's how we made sense of the world and still is, and how we educate young people. We tell them stories. I'm sure in days gone by, the nomadic tribes would tell stories about the good areas to hunt, the areas to keep away from the predators, the stories to educate the young people, the stories to inspire the possibilities of what might happen. And that hasn't gone away, really. I teach presentation skills, as I said, and I say to people, basically, there's a story of who you are, story of where we could go, story of how we got here. And those may be in a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint, but actually they may just be in a story, which may be just one line. It may be a little metaphor, a little analogy, or it may be something that draws us in because I want to know what happens next.
Right.
And so many corporate presentations, there's no such sense of, I need to know where this is going to lead. I'm interested, I'm invested in this unfolding narrative.
Exactly.
First off, I just want to find out, is a physics background required for improv, or
sometimes?
No. But I will say to you that the stuff, I really struggled when I was sort of 16, 17 with some physics concept. For example, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which is there's a particle. You can either know where it is or how heavy it is. But if you know too much about the heavy, you know less about the where. Right. Now that's weird. That makes no sense. It's like Schrodinger's cat. The cat is both dead and alive until you open the box, when it's one or the other. But of course, and then I say this to a physicist who studied way after me, that, well, the maths proves it. But it's interesting to me that physics, deep science, is actually all about uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And my job is coping with uncertainty. Improv is how to navigate the not knowing. I don't know what the audience is going to say. I don't know what my colleague's going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say. And actually, it's foolish of us to pretend that any organization doesn't have a lot of that going on.
Exactly.
So instead of saying we have too much uncertainty, go, uncertainty is a thing. It'll be with us a lot of the time. Yeah, we can be a bit certain about some stuff, like the car park. I'm going to park there. That's your desk. But even that's less certain now because working from home, fewer cars, who knows? But look at that. The managing the unknowing, that sounds fun. So some of this is, physics at its basic is kind of how do we deal with the not knowing? There is no universal theory of the world. We've got theories about tiny things and theories about massive things, and they don't quite work. So everything's a work in progress. The maths works that helps us send somebody to the moon for now, but how do we live with not knowing? And I think every single philosophical and faith tradition will have a sense of the unknowing, of accepting we cannot know.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I have no idea where we're going now.
I don't know.
I do. I'm just writing something. Hold on.
I'm just thinking maybe we could just play an improv game.
Yeah, we should.
Because you know what?
Let's go for it.
People say, I can't do this. And I say, I can help you. I've seen so many people do it. And Keith Johnston, who's one of the gurus, he's recently passed. He's one of the gurus who started this in the United Kingdom and then went to Calgary in Canada, and he started theater sports because we found people so keen to do this. How can I get a lot of people on stage doing improv? So he created theater sports, which is a global phenomenon now. But he said to be a good improviser, you have to lose the fear of being seen as mad, bad, or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, most of our discourse, certainly, dare I say, in the West, is you can't be wrong. You can't be bad. And who wants to be mad? But actually, a lot of breakthroughs come when somebody seemingly goes outside the existing paradigm and says, why did we do this? Or couldn't it be that? And kind of once you've lose the fear of self-censorship sometimes, or I haven't been there before, where's that going to lead? You become a great improviser. Now, of course, if I'm running a business or I'm doing a job, I don't want to go all the time stepping outside the paradigm, turning up naked, wandering around saying, oh, let's just do anything. But again, we talk about this constraints, sometimes liberating. And so within, some small experiments, how can I try that? And for the sake of this conversation, what about if I did talk to that person in a way that's not constrained by my limits? But let's see where we might go, even just to talk about things that are, should we say, day to day, how she's relating to her partner, how the dog is, what she really wants, how you might perceive the world if you were not, a dumb middle-aged man like me, if I was a child. And that's a great game. We don't sometimes. What would a 12-year-old say? What would a 5-year-old say who haven't learned some of the rules of what you're not supposed to do? Anyway, we could have a go at this, one word at a time. Should we have a go at that?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, so yes, it's the right answer.
Yes, that's my word.
So we could just shout out your number.
7.
32.
There you
That's
go.
my number.
I know, but I stole it from you.
32 is why is it your number, Kellen?
It was my basketball number.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It was the number on my BMX bike when I was growing up.
Interesting. See, because 32 bores me slightly. It's kind of an obvious number.
It's very curvy.
Yeah.
It's curvy, but I break it down to 8 times 4, whereas 7 is a prime. You know,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
excited by 31
Oh boy.
because it doesn't conform. I'm excited by 29.
You didn't give a number.
I said 1 because I am 1. Anyway, we're going to go in order. So say 1, 2, 3. So I'll say 1. Kellen, 2.
3.
There you go. So in the same order, we're going to tell a story, but one word at a time. Okay.
Okay. So I'm number 2.
Yeah, exactly. So in that order, and it might be the sentence is 3 words. It may be more, maybe less. Let's see. So why don't we? Let's just. Actually, did you say BMX bike?
I did.
So yesterday I went out on my BMX bike. That's the title of the story. So here we go. Yesterday,
I
jumped
onto
my
bicycle.
Then
all of a sudden. Oh wait, I did more than
now,
one.
you see, Kellen, all of a sudden.
I did 3.
I think that's 4 words. But the joy of it is
I messed up.
Yeah, but the audience at home is going, isn't that great? She messed up. And all of a sudden, it's kind of one thought, isn't it? Then
It was a thought,
all of a
not
sudden,
a word.
carry on.
Not.
What? What did
No,
you
why
say?
don't you say? Then all of a sudden, I cycled
Across
Europe.
Wow.
I
Love
cheese.
sandwiches.
Hot
Cheese.
Squeezy.
nachos.
French.
Onion.
Hot dogs.
Are
Amazingly.
Squishy.
especially
When
I
cycle.
under
hot dogs.
One
of
My
favorite
all time
computers.
is
purple.
Aqua.
without
Waterproofing.
Stop.
danger. Good. I'll ask the audience at home if you noticed where they were looking.
Up.
Everyone was, but sorry, both of you were kind of going, oh, and I was going, what are you saying? And the skill that I have is I have somehow managed to make my brain not think ahead. I'm loosely thinking, I kind of want some threads to make sense. So if we're on a bicycle in Europe, we want that to come back. So I said French. I want the cycle to come back, and I'm cycling under something. But that's all I'm thinking. So all I know is basically just say something fast and quickly. Whereas I know you were both going, which led you to say more than one word.
Right.
And the joy of this is
hot dogs is one word.
Hot dogs. But even if you said hot and you were hoping I'd say dog, and I might say hot stuff or something, it's it's okay.
There you go. Oh,
the joy comes from not knowing.
Right.
And that's something that takes time. It takes time because most of our world is, I'm thinking actually 3-4 words ahead of time. And I do this game with people, and you realize fairly quickly you can't think of one word at a time. You think of one idea at a time.
Exactly.
And the liberation of not knowing is wonderful. You just say hot and you think dog, but actually they've said something else. Fine, go with it.
Hot toddy.
Hot toddy, exactly. But I often say to people, pause. When he said hot, were you thinking toddy, dog, stuff, whatever? And just shows the diversity of the possibilities of the story, even from one word.
And what direction it's going to go.
And yeah, exactly. And also being comfortable with it could go that way. And also it's calming your mind. And Keith Johnson used to say, when somebody couldn't think of anything, and there were moments when you were going, I don't know what to say. And he says it takes, a Zen Buddhist lifetime to empty their mind of everything. And actually, what I think is when somebody goes, I don't know what to say, it's not because they don't know what to say. It's because they've got so many ideas in their head. They're thinking, is that good? Should I say that? How can I say that? Does that? And all I'm thinking is, if I just say the next word, then she'll have an idea and somehow we'll make sense of it later. And actually just enjoying the not knowing yet. And also, again, I was thinking cycling, BMX, you said Europe, and I was thinking Europe, and then cheese came up, and then actually cheese is my default. But because I kind of know that everyone's got an opinion of cheese.
You can get out of any jam with cheese.
Well, exactly. And it's funny. I put this on
that
Twitter.
and Vaseline.
I put it on X or Twitter the other day, and a friend of mine who writes speeches for politicians and leading business folk, I said, just say cheese, if any trouble, my default, just say cheese. He said the other day I was writing quite a serious speech, and I said, and I thought, I just put cheese in. And he did. It was a real speech. Let's lighten it a little bit, vary it, destroy cheese. And cheese on my website, I have, do you want to book me for a date? When is it? What kind of event? Where is it? Etc. And then bottom, what's your favorite cheese? And it's because you kind of get a sense of whether they want to play or not. Because some people say it has to be cheddar, or it can't be that. Don't give me any cheese except goat cheese, any cheese except blue cheese, or I'm vegan, so I have a problem. So I get a little bit of information from people that way, because it's kind of a tiny, what we call improv, a tiny offer. So in improv, we talk about the offer. So, and if I go, good morning, doctor, the offer I've given you of doctor, and you go, good morning, nurse. So the idea of the offer, and that's the kind of framing of it, is any conversation is just a series of offers given and accepted. Whereas if you say, good morning, doctor, you say, I'm not a doctor, and that feels like a block. Right. But actually, I'm saying, oh, well, it's how you frame it yourself. If you say, I'm not a doctor, you might say, oh, really? Well, I'm not a patient. Isn't it fun? So I don't go, hang on a minute, you've got to be a doctor because I said so. And so that's why this concept of the offer is important to us. Mm-hmm. An offer is something somebody gives you, you can do something with. An offer is something somebody gives you, you can do something with. And that was defined by a group called On Your Feet, created by a British guy from advertising who met a guy in Portland, I think, selling T-shirts, an artist. And they created an improv group solving real business problems using improv. But an offer is something somebody gives you, you can do something with. Now, when somebody says, I don't want to talk about that, I don't like that. If you go, that's difficult, I can't get, you say, well, that's an offer. Tell me more about why you don't like it. Mm-hmm. So being open, and I often say, just even in sales, when somebody says, no, that we can't do that, that's helpful. We don't need to waste time on that. And I say in the broader sense, if you're in business, the offer from the market, what is it that people seem to be doing? Consumer behavior. What's the change in technology? What's the change in regulatory? That's something that's there. Don't pretend it's not there. Let's do something with it. I.e., we're kind of saying, what's the reality? Let's try and use it rather than say, oh, I wish things hadn't turned out this way. And that's the philosophical, I suppose, approach. And an experienced improv performer will be open to whatever. All right, she said that. That's fine. That's good. Because we're throwing the ball back and forth. She says something, I say something, she says something, we build on each other, even if I didn't know how she was going to build it. And this is the beauty. Del Close, one of the founders of Second City, he noticed that some people, newbie improvisers, they're trying to write the whole scene on their own because they want clarity, get it sorted. And he says, no, don't try to do that. Just bring a brick. Bring a brick. And together we will build a cathedral.
Love that.
So it's highly co-creative. And I say, sometimes your fellow improviser is your unconscious. Mm-hmm. Listen to her or him. So when you're writing a book, get something on paper, treat it as something. Somebody the other day said to me, your own thoughts can be your own inner heckler. You don't have thought never killed anybody. And you think, how could I think such a thing? Where did that come from? That's not my values, but that's okay. Especially when you're writing a character that you may not agree with. You know, sometimes that's what writers will tell you, is that they may not know where it's coming from, but they're getting it down. The best advice for any writer is get it started.
Yeah.
It's so hard to write. It's a little easier to rewrite. So get it down. Picasso, I'm told, said the paper defends its whiteness. It's so hard to start. So start with anything. That's why Julia Cameron, have you heard of Julia Cameron, the Writer's Way? So I think there are many other books with similar ideas of how to uncover your inner writer, how to overcome writer's block. But Julia Cameron had a daily pages, just write 3 pages every day. It could be just, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I want a coffee. Just get used to getting it there.
Well, it's like Michael says, write shite, right?
Right, shite.
There you go, exactly. And
it's not going to all be shite. Eventually, you're going to
because something in the shite will be good. Again, I used to co-write sitcoms, and my partner Tony Hawks, not the skateboarder, Hawks with an S, would say, we would talk. You know, here's a pontoon, i.e., trying to cross a river. A pontoon is a makeshift bridge, but we'll get across and then see what happens later. Rather than spend a lot of time trying to build the bridge, let's get to somewhere, and it might just lead us somewhere. I'll say cheese. Actually, turns out that cheese isn't the thing, but actually France is. No, actually, it's not cheese, but it's pizza or something. It's kind of a make do for now. Write some shite, fill it in later, and it could lead you somewhere. And that, I think, is probably what stops people writing, is the fear of not being very good to begin with, being seen as a bit bad to begin with. And any writer will tell you they look at their first draft and think this could be better. They're bold enough to say, I'm going to rewrite. They're bold enough to say, when I started, I didn't know. Some writers will know every beat. Some will just start. Right. Both of those are completely legitimate, but find your own style, I would say.
So which was your first book, by the way? Was that...
is it still there? It was actually, I was in a movie called Solitaire for Two. A friend of mine called Gary Sinyor, Sinyor, I was at college with him. He's just done the second series of a sitcom here in the UK called Hapless. And he made a movie called Leon the Pig Farmer, which is basically... a young man discovered he was Jewish, having been brought up as a pig farmer. So the story there of the two cultures. And so I had a tiny part in that. And then Gary got another movie called Solitaire for Two, which was about a guy who could read people's minds. Actually, no, a woman could read people's minds. And this guy was attracted to her. And she was trying not to read his mind. And he was trying not to think thoughts that he didn't want her to read. So it's a high concept idea. I played a crazed librarian. I think I took the lead guy hostage because my wife wasn't.
Are you still playing the part or what?
Yes. Anyway, so I was in about 5 scenes, and Gary said, we've got a deal to do the novelization of the movie. Will you do that? So I did that. Now, of course, writing out a movie does not a book make. There's a lot. It's not very long. There's a lot of stuff in between. So I wrote the book using some of my experiences, some borrowed from other people. And again, this is what I learned from a writer called Roy Apps, as in apps. He said writers, because I think a lot of people think writers just spend all their time imagining stuff. He said basically they remember, a third steal from others, news items, friends, and then only a third make up. So, it's not just, it's hard work making stuff up, but borrowing, revoicing things. Anyway, so the book Solitaire for Two was published. Now, there used to be a home decor and a clothing company here called Laura Ashley, and they had supplied the curtains and soft furnishings for the movie. And it was called Solitaire for Two, and it was their kind of brand was green color, and so it was the same color, green. And then they gave anybody who bought a certain amount of curtains got a free book. It was also available. So that was what it was good about. That was I had a deadline, and they paid me, which is pretty unusual, I guess, for a first book, because otherwise I'll write it one day. Yeah. The old phrase of "What are you doing?" Well, I'm writing a book. Oh, really? Well, neither am I. So I had to get it done. The movie was coming out. I had to get it done by whatever, July. I had the story. That was easy, but I had to fill in the bits. So it kind of the demanding burden you have. I've got to write 50 pages. I don't know, 50,000 words, whatever. I had to do that, and it was done. And so they gave me confidence to write another one. It took me a while though, because the next one was by my alter ego. Where is it? By L. Vaughan Spencer. I think you might have heard of him.
I would hold it up, except it hasn't arrived yet.
There you go. Well, there you go.
Do I need to change the name?
There you go. Perfect. And so, again, as I kind of implied earlier, sometimes you write a character you daren't be, and that's him. He was kind of all the things I daren't think or daren't say that I think. He's kind of full of himself. He's a motivational guru, but his life is a mess. And his motto is "Don't be needy, be succeedy." Based on many motivational speakers and others, I've seen where their confidence way outstrips any talent they have. And I thought somebody said, you better make him different from you. So I gave him a different name, L. Vaughan Spencer. Like J-Lo, I called him Elvo. And I did these motivational raps. And as you can see, I gave him a beard and you can't see the ponytail. So just to make it clear, and gave him a suit. I had a handmade suit, you can see there. And occasionally I would do a whole day of improv and other communication skills with a client. I say, good night, see you next time. And I'd come back later as him in the evening over to dinner. And some people didn't recognize me. And some people didn't realize he was a joke, even though I was saying outrageous things. So yeah, that was my second book. That's called The A to Z of Motive Vitality. So that was it, literally A to Z. So kind of, as we say, so it was not a story. So I made it easier because it's like a dictionary. We start with A. Now, there are times when some letters I couldn't think of anything to say. So I jumped to the next letter and then come back. And gradually a story emerged of his life. He was, not a very successful small businessman, and then became a motivational guru. And the third book, here we go. It's called, based on a lecture I used to give and still do occasionally at the London Business Forum. It's called 7 Steps to Improve Your People Skills. And again, I help myself when writing the presentation. Every chapter begins with L. So the central one was listen, from my improv world. Then there was a kind of, I backed into look, which is the importance of eye contact. And then lighten the mood, use humor relevantly, appropriately, respectfully. Listen and link. Link is kind of the improv thing. Yes, and link to what somebody's just said. Don't link to your idea, link to their idea. And number 1 was learn. We're always learning, learn about somebody, learn about yourself, learn about things you don't know. And one very simple one, learn people's names. It's a great way to get some rapport with people. And then the last one is leave well, is how we leave a conversation, how we leave a relationship, how we leave a job will kind of color the way people see us thereafter. We could have a great conversation with somebody and in the end kind of, here's my business card. Rather than, hey, it's been great to meet you. You know, Brian, I should introduce you to Kellen. She likes cheese as well. And she likes hot dogs. Anyway, so there we are. And then the last one is in the moment, which is kind of the most me, of myself. It's me in my own voice. basically putting together all I've learned over the last 20 plus years, how I dipped my toe into the world of management training, and then was joined, I suppose, on the journey by the people who took my workshops and said, how about this? How about that? You know, there's this thing of, and business school academics saying, actually, there's a theory there. There's lots of research that says this. Anyway, thank you. Brian, is that enough?
You nailed it. You nailed it. Good job.
That was awesome. We didn't have to ask hardly any questions.
I know.
We just had to sit back and enjoy. Although I do have one last question.
Our best guests know what questions we're going to ask.
They do.
And just roll with it.
So, but I do want to know, like we like to give the aspiring authors tips. So if there's something that you wish you'd known before you published any of the 4 books, or something that, you know, you thought, oh gosh, I can't believe this happened, I'll never let this happen again. Do you have any advice or any tips for our listeners?
I would say start promoting it the first moment you put pen to paper. Mm-hmm. Tell people about it. It means you might have to feel you've got to get it done, which is not bad.
Accountability.
There are so many books out there, and people don't have time to read more than one a week, if that, a year, perhaps some people. So what is it? So first of all, think about the reader. Who is she or he? Mm-hmm. What are they going to need from this? And it could be, if it's a fiction thing, how are you going to keep them gripped? Roughly, who might it be? Is it going to be YA, young adults? Is it going to be young children? Is it going to be adults in general? But also just, it's a hell of a noise out there. There's a big jungle there. So start, how am I going to sell it? And that doesn't feel inauthentic to me. How am I going to get people interested in this? So think about what you're going to write on the back and the front. Get a good title. And the title may be the hardest thing that you do. It may not be, but start thinking about who's going to read it and how they're going to find out about it.
Perfect.
Those are excellent tips. Excellent tips. Love them.
Well, I am so grateful that you could be here today. I just think you're an amazing person. And you're kind of funny. You're kind of funny.
Well, that's right. I know really funny people. And if you ask my family that, I'm so not funny. Well, sometimes I am in the right moment. But and you can see that I think humor is a beautiful thing. Humor is not making jokes at somebody else's expense. Humor is sharing our fallibility, our vulnerability, accepting that we're not perfect and that we are different. That, to me, what humor is. Because people think humor is jokes at somebody else's expense. And that isn't humor to me. That's bullying, I would say.
Right. I agree. So any final things, any messages to our listeners before we send you back to the green room? Because what we do at the end is we talk about our top highlights of what we learned from you today.
Okay, that's great.
We haven't figured out how to leave this conversation yet. We're still struggling. We're struggling.
Well, I would say we talked about my book. Yes. But I would love it, like you, Kellen, you came to the Comedy Store. So comedystoreplayers.com. That's my improv troupe. Mm-hmm. If you're in London on a Sunday, please come and say hi. You can get us through the website. Send me an email in advance and I'll make sure I say hello to you, because it is such a treat for me to meet people, especially people who don't live in London, who says, I've come to see the show. And what's joyous to me is we have people from all over the world come see the show. They may not be native speakers, because we don't do clever word gags. We don't do really topical stuff about UK politics and stuff. It's just basically silly. And people say, I loved it. Why didn't I know about this before? And failing that, get out and see an improv show where you can. As a writer, it'll help you to see this free-flowing creativity. And if you could think about yourself as an improviser in your own mind, playing across yourself. There we go. Oh. Hooray! Found it. Okay, I promise I'll take a photograph like that of you with me on the stage. We'll do a selfie, because you can see I just love connecting, hearing stories about people and what they do and how they are. That's my great hobby, I guess. So anyway, come see the Comedy Store Players. If you can't, well, get my book as well, because I think you'll understand what I'm saying in a bit more sense. I've had chance to make sense of it in a book.
Yes. And we can put a link to the Comedy Store.
We'll drop that in the
Thank
comments
you
here.
so much.
When
All
we
right,
finish
so
up.
I go away now and have a lie down while you talk.
Yeah, we're going to talk about you.
And we're going to turn you off so you can't respond.
Yes, you can't respond.
You turn me off. I don't press anything.
No, you're good.
No, yeah, we're going to send you away. We're just going to send you away. Thank you.
Oh my God, I love him. I love him.
I didn't want to send him away, but
I know, but we have to do this because we could bring him back, though. I'm sure he'd be happy to come back.
Absolutely. I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. First of all, the brilliance of converting his experience in improv into, helping people become great leaders and then putting together this book. Okay. We could probably stop right there. I loved when he said we need to be accepting of the unknown. Mm-hmm. And if I've learned anything in improv, that is what I've learned is, because it was really hard for me to block out everything and not have a preconceived and just listen to the word and then react from the word. So follow the follower was kind of a cool, theory that he had talked about. Moment is relative. So it doesn't have to be this little teeny tiny place. It can be this huge long gap. It can be, it's relative. And then the fourth most important thing was cheese, using cheese. I stole that from you, didn't I?
Hot dog. No.
Oh, you were going to say cheese?
No, I wasn't going to.
Oh, dang. Okay.
But
we'll get that.
But I will remember that in the future. So
yes. I'm going to use it in my improv.
I mean, I think at the end of one of our podcasts, even if cheese isn't mentioned, it's always a safe go-to.
Yeah.
It'll get people to go back and listen to, when did they talk about cheese in that? I remember cheese.
Oh, wait, I guess he has a discount code too. I'll make sure I get that from him and then we'll put it in the comments for you guys.
No, some of the things I took away from it is, just, in the moment. I mean, it, like you hear in the moment in a meditation state, it's kind of like a mantra, be in the moment, be in the now.
Right.
But I never thought of the absolute, a way to actually do that truly is in improv is to actually be in the moment. And that is, it's both the gift or the offering from the other person. Mm-hmm. And what you can give back to them is your presence and to allow them to give you that gift and then for you to give something back. And so
exactly.
I just see, just how powerful taking that concept into life and relationships at home, in the office.
I know, not just office. I mean, everything. It's all encompassing.
Yeah. And it's not by chance. I'm always thinking ahead. I'm trying to think of something else and just, I think improv would be a great way to practice slowing down, asking yourself, listening to somebody else instead of trying to prep my response for that.
Exactly. And everybody's guilty of that. No matter, you can say you're not, but you are.
And then the other just really practical tip he had for authors is to start promoting right away. I mean, you may not go right out the moment you had the thought, but definitely we talked to another member of the Heppel group and, being in a cohort-based writing group, having a group of people to write your book with is a great strategy for many fronts. So that when it's time to release your book, you're not releasing it like, it's like Schrodinger's cat, as we talked about today, Is it real or is it not? Did you actually write a book? If nobody knows about it, is there actually a book? And so you have to start promoting in advance. It's not a build it and they come kind of thing.
Right.
So
another amazing show. I'm so excited.
Wonderful show. Look forward to having Neil back. Definitely.
Yes. I'm going to beg him. Please come back. Please come back. I want to talk about Don't Be Needy, Be Succeeding. I want to spend the whole show on that book.
Yeah. Let's bring Elva on.
Yes.
Elvo.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we really appreciate your support. Please remember to subscribe, and if you love it, please share it out. We'll be seeing you next week. I don't have my sheet in front of me.
We have Dave Rogers next week.
Dave Rogers. Fit, fired up. Fueled, fit, and fired up.
Fueled, fit, and fired up. And then we have Kyle Sheely.
Yes.
the following week. And then,
Yes.
you know, we're working on filling out our February calendar, and we'll announce some of those guests next week. But we
Yeah.
got another great slate of authors on almost on the ready, and we'll be announcing those in the coming weeks.
I've got this big thing here full of my people that I'm trying to get on the show.
I know. If I could only show you the stack of books that I have behind me that are my wish list of authors on our show, it is tall. So.
And if you have somebody you think that might be interesting and would like to be on the show, send us their name. We'd love to chat with them and see if it's a fit.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. Great seeing you today, Kellen.
Great seeing you too.
And we'll be back next week.
Yep. Have a great weekend.